Hello, and welcome back to Build the Millennium Falcon with yours truly, Azarmorph. In this episode, we're going to be covering off issue 5 and the parts that came with it. But not only that, I'm going to cover off one of the freebies that I've received so far with the collection. So let's crack on, as we always do. We'll kick off with the magazine, and as I turn over page 1 and realign, there we go. You will see here we're instantly straight in onto, well, obviously it's the usual, this side here, by the way, never really cover it, just to clarify, it's listed at the contents page, so it tells you what's coming up, and also customer service, etc. there, so all good. We're straight into the Corillian Engineering Corporation. Now, the Corillian Engineering Corporation, if I've got this right, is one of the 3 big starship manufacturers. The other 2 being the Cot Drive Yards, and the final one being, and I've got this, Senia Fleet Systems. Obviously I might have got that wrong, and if so, by all means let me know, and correct me, and educate me. But those are the 3 that are out there. The difference between the Corillian Corporation and the other 2 is that the Corillian really made its money off civilian and transportation, etc. It didn't have to rely on military contracts to make its money like the other 2 did. So it goes on, we go on into more detail. And the first big ship you see, well, you see the back end of the Millennium Falcon, which is actually the YT-1300. 1300 is the original model, and that'll come up again in a bit when we explain more about the Millennium Falcon. But obviously down the bottom of the screen there, you'll see the CR-90 Corvette. Basically the runner ship that was used by Princess Leia in the very first sequences of Star Wars, as we know and love well. The one thing that we might not know about is that actually this ship was actually designed for Han Solo. However, they decided later on, just before filming, that it wasn't the right ship. It was too big, really, for the requirements, so hence they got on and built the Millennium Falcon in very quick time too. Then it goes on to things like the Ebon Hawk, which is the forerunner to the Millennium Falcon, and other comments on that, including the creation of Corellia, which is the planet that Han Solo came from. It originally was aired and then as, I'm just having a look, Cerili, or Cell. And it's slowly grown as they've tried to give Han Solo more of a background story. Now, if I turn over the page to the next page, here we go. You can now get to see the Millennium Falcon as you might not have seen it before. Basically, there's the Millennium Falcon we know we love on this page here. But the truth of it is, it's a kit. It's a kit that can take on different configurations, and this is explained in more detail over here. There's a central cockpit. There are, there's a central cockpit. There's different type of central cockpits here. You've got the cockpit as we know and love it, and then you've got the cockpit on the other side. You've got 3 different types of engines: an almond engine, a cylindrical engine, and then the engines we know and love very well. Also, the turret changes. So the client that wanted to buy the basic YT-1300 could then modify it and have different components on it. So that's all really good. I thought that was quite interesting. And it kind of gives it more variety when you see the previous things. I think we've actually got one way back here. We've got one of the kind of variants. We've got the Corillian centre UFO kind of style circle, and then they modify off the back of that therefore. So it's all good. And then it goes on to about the hull and the smuggler compartments down here. So these are the circular compartments up here which Han Solo smuggled themselves when they got caught in the Death Star. Basically, it goes on to some detail about how a client could put in up to 12 compartments, just like you see on a cruise liner, small and compact bijou. And the crew would have to then sleep in the engine room, which wouldn't be much fun, I wouldn't think. But so it could be a passenger transporter as well as a goods transporter, or as we know, Han Solo and Chewbacca used it as a smuggling ship. So, yeah, they're quite common, I think, and it's all looking good. Some more sketch detail here and some more behind the details. It does go on to the dimensions of the ship and how there was a difference in the measurements, only by a few by a metre or so, but it's all interesting stuff. Again, I'm not going to go into huge detail because I just skirt over the magazine, because obviously the purpose of it is if you want it, you'll join me in buying this wonderful model and getting all these magazines. Now, we go on to landing on Coruscant. And the different fun and games about it. It also explains a little bit about Coruscant. One of the things is that the highest towers are up at over 5,000 levels. The planet itself is predominantly covered, except for a few locations where there's been extreme mountainous regions, and also at the poles, where they're basically kept as tourist locations. But the rest of it is pretty much built out, and of course, as they couldn't expand outwards, they ended up going upwards. So ground one's basically quite toxic and basically is off limits, up to 5,000. I think the tallest one's 5,100 or so. 5,127 comes to mind. It's in there somewhere, I'm sure. Also, here's quite an interesting picture here of the Senate traffic, and down there, they show a little picture you probably won't pick up, but you'll see the blow-up, which is the Millennium Falcon coming into land in the latest video. So it shows it's been around, or a Millennium Falcon type has been around for a while. So yeah, it's doing the usual format, talking about ships, and then it's talking about some planets, and just keeps building up the knowledge of the Star Wars universe, which is really quite interesting. So, blasting through this, because I always try to keep this as short as I can, we're going to go on to the next, trying not to damage the magazine, so excuse the big arm coming across. Flicking over the page, we then carry on, get it back in line, Azarmorph. We get back on to the ship part components, as you can see on the left-hand side. It does go on to a little bit more Coruscant, but I've shown you the bits now. So you're going to be more interested in that than what I've got to say over here. So let's crack on. Not a huge amount of bits, but quite interesting pieces altogether. So we're going to kick off here with the lighting panel. Yes, we finally see our first bit of electronics. And there we go. See if we can get it into focus there for you. Yes, the 6 white blobs are actually lights, and it has got a power socket that goes into the back. You can just see it there if I can rotate it correctly. So yes, you click your power into there, I would expect. And the circuitry's tucked in there. And there we go. You have some puffs of it. But you can just see that it's flat circuitry. So those are the lights that are going to go into the Millennium Falcon, and I think we can guess where they're going to go in. Yes, behind the cockpit. The next parts we're talking about are screws. I'm just going to keep them offline because you never see them at this distance. And then what we've got here is we've got the edges of the cockpit. And again, I'll bring it up, but we will cover this off in more detail. Reasonable detail on these. Again, it's black, so there we go. Reasonable detail on these. And the slight modelling curve here. You see it there. Which will slot into the control panels we've already got in place. And then we get some chunky bits of the outer hull. We get, I'll put one down there, and the other one there. We're getting the element that starts building up the cockpit. In fact, you can see it here. It's this piece of the jigsaw puzzle. That's this job project. In 2 parts. Basically, you've got your male and female components. You've got your male parts there and the female parts there, which means they joint together. Also, we've got some grooving going on here to allow the back to slot in. I'm now going to do my usual. I'm going to drop the camera and we'll get putting this together in a second. And here we have the components of the magazine in front of us and a bit more up close for the building. Now we're just going to grab one of the side panels. Let's see if we can see any detail on that. Maybe if I do it like that, that's a little bit, there you go. You can just make out the detail. It is black, the detail, so it makes it a little bit difficult. But as you can see, you can just make out the cut here. This kind of semicircle cut there. And also you can see the 2 points here, which will be to connect it to the cockpit. So what we've got here, we'll just get that in there, is you've got 2 holes here, which accept this, and like so. And the same thing on this side. If we get the rotation right, you can just make out the 2 holes there and there. I'll place that onto right, come on. It's always great, isn't it? Build this offset. It's like, that's why they used to say, and I've built one earlier. So there we go, we've got the cockpit's beginning to really flesh out now with the side panels and other things on there. It's really quite nice. However, we're going to move on now, and I'm actually going to disassemble it a little bit, because what I'm going to do is take that and put it there so you can still see it whilst I'm building. A little bit of a shot, so let's bring that back in there. There we go. And I've got now this taken out. The door is actually acting as the point for the lights. So you can just see there, off my fingers, the three raised parts of the plastic. That's to accept the lights. And what we'll do is I'll just slot that onto place. Like so. I'm going to put it down. And then I'm going to grab the one and only screw that we're going to be using in this issue and drop it onto place. He said, that's the reason why I put it down. Because what I didn't want it to do was fly off and land on the carpet, which I'm sure it would have wanted to do. So we'll just screw that into place. You actually get two screws in this, but I've already put one in the tin, so it's all secure. And there you go. So you can just see the lights there. They're going to shine through. The curvature is matching the top element. That's kind of giving me the right idea on it. Otherwise I'll put it upside down. And we've got the back panel. Now, the last part of the model to put together, nice and straightforward in this one, is I'm going to turn this. Now, is that the upside or is it? I'm going to say that's the downward section. Let's call that the downward section for now. I might have to change my mind later, but seeing that that looks like the shape of the Millennium Falcon, I'm thinking that's right. So then we're going to drop this into place. Again, not gluing any of this together. And get it into the slots. It's just the angle you have to do to try and keep it in place. On the old video, there we go. And then I'm going to grab the top part and slot it on the top there. Okay, I'm doing this blind now. You're seeing this better than I am. There we go, and there we go. And now we're beginning to see another section of it come together. Now, I'm not going to stick this down as always, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cockpit back into place now, he says, hopefully. And then we can see what it really looks like. I think basically what I'll have to do is I'll have to take it out and then put it in, but there you go. So there we go. So the next part will hopefully be, well, in fact, no. So we're going to just show you what's coming up in part 6. And then we're going to go on to one of the freebie that came along. So as you can see, that's issue 5 covered off, and we're going to go to issue 6, which is the front of the cockpit and other parts. These are all sitting, if my memory serves me right, in a plastic bag somewhere. I'll have a look for them. But looking forward to building that. That'll take the cockpit a bit further on again, and then I think we're getting into the interior sections coming on. But yes, it's more of the cockpit and panels and such like. So that'll be in issue 6. So what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to cut and come right back with the freebie, which is the T-shirt. So see you in a second. And here is the T-shirt. This is the back of the T-shirt, and it's quite clearly got some text on here with Build the Millennium Falcon in the basic format that's been used with the magazine all the way through. Also got our favourite text on here, the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. So basically, if anybody looks at the back of your T-shirt when you're walking down the street, they know that you've bought into this franchise and you're collecting the model, which is very good. Why not have the marketing on there? It's all good. But the real piece of resistance, piece of resistance, yeah, something like that. Anyway, the real good part is this piece that I'm going to worry about that now and get it sorted in my head. Anyway, I've just probably upset some French people. Do apologise. Love France, by the way. Anyway, here's the Millennium Falcon image on the front. It looks like a kind of plan of up above. It's got the cockpit there, and you can see the seats that we've been talking about today. Really nice. And the element of the work here. Anyway, that's the nitty-gritty. The fact is that this is really nice T-shirt. As you can see by some of the crinkles on it, I have already worn this T-shirt, as I feel like I should wear it a few times, but trust me, if I start to think it's getting a little bit worn slightly, I am then going to put it away somewhere safe, because it is a one-off as far as I'm aware. Well, I'm sure somebody's got something similar out there. But really nice to wear down the streets. People realise that you're a Star Wars fanatic straight off the bat, but let's face it, if you're watching this, you're also a Star Wars fan, so it's all good. Right, okay, all that leaves me to do now is to say thank you for watching and your support. We're up to the 5th issue now, so we'll just keep on cracking. I have got some more magazines arrived, so plenty more to come. So, until next time, boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, aliens and other life forms, may the Force be with you, and stay safe.